So there is at least one little item that I want to show you, a little technique on our final project. So that is the purpose of tonight's lecture. But remember that, as I've threatened, most of the final project you will do on your own because it matches up to the ClubDB project, and you can translate one to the other fairly easily, I think. But we have a different little web page item on our Henry Books final project, and that has to do with a drop-down list, and in particular a default selection in the drop-down list. So I will bring down my spec, and we haven't loaded the database for this either, have we? Let's do a save link as for the Henry Books IS-288. My problem now is that I've got Henry Books in several different classes, and I have different versions of Henry Books for different classes, so I've had to take to putting the class number as part of the script name. All right, so if we open up the command line client and give it our root password, I'm going to do a show databases here. So I've got Henry Books for the database class, Henry Books for the scripting class, and now we'll have Henry Books for the Java 3 class. So remember that the command to load that is \dot, and then you'll need the full path name, and your folders set needs to not have any spaces in it. So I put mine in the IS-288 folder on my C drive, and it's Henry Books _ IS-288. You do need the .SQL that is on the suffix of the file type, and with that it should launch. Now if I show databases, I do indeed have Henry Books _ IS-288. Everybody okay on running that script to load? Okay. So if we use Henry Books _ IS-288 and show tables, this is a pared down kind of a mini version of Henry Books. It has a users file and a stores, and then it has some book information, inventory information. So if we describe users, these are the system users, and you'll notice that the system user has a default or preferred store ID. And so that's how you would link it to the stores if we describe stores. So you can get to from the user to the user's primary store through the store ID. But the system should allow any user with admin level, and that's one of the user entries, so admin level, any user should be able to change or view the inventory anywhere, not just at their own store. And so that is sort of what I wanted to talk about tonight. If we open up the spec for the Henry Books Final, I give you some guidelines as to what the tables are all about. So I guess I could have just read the spec. List of books carried by the retailer, all branches combined, is in book list, and then actual current inventories for each branch is in the book INV table. But here's our, well, our first screen is a login screen, very much as we did with the club. It's just that we're going to be logging in users, employees from the Henry Books chain, and they will have admin level or not. Sometimes some will just have view level. But here's the screen that I really wanted to get going on for tonight, and that is after a successful login, we're going to have a drop-down of the stores, and we want the selected store, in this case Henry on the Hill, to match to the user. So this is an HTML select item with option. Each of the entries in the select tag are option tags, and we just need to figure out how to build this on the server side, on the servlet side of things, the JSP side, and also to tag the right entry to match with the user. So I'm going to take a few shortcuts here, but we need to get started on our project. And we'll do some of the preliminary kind of grunt work that we can wrap up without too much trouble, I think. All right, so File, New Project. It's a Java Web application, no existing sources. And what do I want to call this? I'm going to call this Web Henry Books. And I need to put it in the right folder here. We'll stick with Tomcat for this one, and EE7 context. No, just everything in the regular location. Okay, context path Web Henry Books. That's all right. No framework, so we can finish. Okay. So here is our starter page. And of course, the starter page is actually going to be a logon page. So we don't need to do anything with index. We're just going to delete it anyway. I tell you what, let's build our first servlet. No, wait, sorry. Let's do this. Go up to ClubDB and grab logon JSP straight out of ClubDB. And so right-click and copy. Come down to the web pages for Henry Books. Right-click and paste. You'll need to fix a few things on the login page, but it's essentially the same. So let's see, user ID. How did I put it? User ID and password, and then the login button. Welcome to the inventory system is what it says. So this won't say club logon. I will actually, I'm just going to say logon. So instead of club logon, we'll say logon, and this is going to say Henry Books logon. Welcome to the inventory system. Let's see. Welcome to the inventory system. Please enter your ID and password. So we don't really have that. We can make an H2 if we'd like. please enter your user ID and password. I'm not too worried about that. You can fix that up however you like. I will take out the value entry. It won't be a member object, so I'm going to take the value out. But we are going to have user ID and password, and then the log on button. And you can leave the message expression list in there if you like. So that gives us a start. We're actually going to, I'm not going to do anything with the logon. That's going to be strictly up to you. So I'm going to sort of short circuit the login bit tonight. But we will have the processing for the logon will include the building of the next page. So after they do a login or a logon, they're going to go straight to this page, pre-built with the store dropdown. So that code will actually end up being in the logon servlet. So let's create a couple of packages. A new Java package for servlets, as usual. And another source package, new package for business. Because we are going to need, even tonight, as we get ready to build the page, the drop-down page, we're going to need some beans, some data-backed beans to store basic user and store information. So in the business folder, I'm going to right-click and ask for a new Java class, and that's going to be the user class. All right, now the user class will store everything that's needed, or everything that is found, is read, from the user table. So if we go back and look at the user table, we have an ID, a name, apparently just one field for name, a password, their store ID, and their admin level. Admin level is actually carried as a character field, so if we do a select star from users inside our screen, you can see that ADMN is the code for an admin. View is the code for somebody who doesn't have update capabilities. All right. So we will create some globals for this class. We will have a private int for user ID, store ID, password, and PWD attempt, password attempt. I think we're going to need that. Same idea as with the club. And then we've got private strings for username and admin level. Empty constructor, public user just sets everything to 0, user ID 0, store ID, password, and PWD attempt. I don't know if we want to do something like -1 on that. Whoops, I guess I need an equal sign. And then username, empty string, and admin level, empty string. So with that, we can do our usual refactoring. I did start the recording, didn't I? Yes. Mr. Finley's got me paranoid now. So refactor, encapsulate fields. Right-click on user.java. refactor, encapsulate fields, and we're going to use all of the fields with get and set. I don't know that we'd actually need a get password attempt, but well, for now, I'll do a select all and let it build all of the methods. So no Java doc and refactor. So we've got our first bean that can store all the information related to a user. I am going to add one method, I guess, and that's the isAuthenticated. So down at the bottom, public Boolean isAuthenticated. And in the spirit of not doing any more work for you than I have to, I'm going to return true. So every user will be authenticated as of tonight. You will have to fix that. All right. I will now create the second business object, which is the store. Unless I need to pause for a minute. Are we okay? All good? All good. Okay. So right-click, new Java class again. This is store.java. Happily, the store has fewer fields than the user. In particular, if we go ahead and look at that store. So this is a single store of the stores. We only have an ID, which is an int, the number of employees, which is an int, and then a name and an address field. So I'm going to go ahead and make private ints store ID and store emp. It's really employee count. Oops, but I didn't type int properly. There, private int, and then private string for store name and store ADDR. Public store, empty constructor, store ID to 0, store emp to 0, store name to the empty string, store address to the empty string, and once again, we are ready to refactor and encapsulate. So click on store, refactor, encapsulate fields, select all, and refactor. Well, that must be like 75% of the final, I would think, right? All done? Maybe not quite that much. All right. Well, time for that first servlet. I changed the name in logon.jsp to just be logon. So we're going to go to servlets and right-click and ask for a new servlet. And it will be logon servlet for the class name. We will add the tag information to the web XML, and remember that the URL pattern is changed to just logon, not logon servlet. But that should get us started. All right. Take out the usual stuff that we don't need in our servlet. And I guess while we're here, we should, I'm going to go up to the ClubDB, and from the web XML of ClubDB, I'm going to take the welcome file list, and since I didn't change the name of that JSP, I can just plug this right in. So welcome file list, welcome file is logon.jsp, so I'll do a Control-C, then come down to my Henry Books, web XML, and put that welcome list, drop it right in. And with that, we can remove index.html. So just right-click and delete it. All right. Question? Problem? Oh. Yes. Yeah. But that's where we're headed now. We're headed back to the servlet. Oh yeah, we don't need the print writer anymore. Okay, so this will not be a complete, robust servlet. The only purpose is to get us to the next page, which is the drop-down page, which I'm going to call Store Selection. But we need to do a few things in order to have that page work for us. So I am going to hard code a user object. So I'm going to declare user U, and then I'll do the import for business.user. And I'm also going to have the string URL, which is going to point to, well, for my purposes, it can point directly to store selection.jsp. So that's going to be my next page that has the drop-down on it. Now, you won't do this. I'm going to back up a step, or back up a couple of weeks, and just create string db URL. And, oh, actually, I think I can probably copy this, can't I? From I think we did this still in ClubDB in the first servlet, the logon servlet. I don't think we'd implemented connection pools there. So yeah, I'm just going to copy these three items: string db URL, db user, and db password. So Control-C down to the logon servlet of Henry Books. But remember that this is not the way you will do it in the final version of the final project. You'll have a connection pool. And a connection pool. So you'll do it with connection pools right from the get-go. But anyway, the only thing that needs to be changed here for our purposes, or my machine, is the name of the database. So that is Henry Books underscore IS288. And so here we go. I should probably make a few notes along the way. Use connection pool in final version. All right. I am going to create my user. So U is a new user, and I'm going to just hard code. I think if I follow the sample, we do have a John Smith. So if I select star from users, again, oh, I had that already, I think. I had it right above. Yeah, so we've got John Smith, user ID 1234, password 111, store ID 2. Okay, so I am going, rather than even bothering to read that from the database, which you will of course do in your final version, I will just plug it. So set user ID, let's try that again, dot set user ID, and the user ID is numeric 1234, and then U set user name is John Smith, set store ID is 2 is his store, and set the, we don't even need the passwords, so we'll just set admin level as ADMN, not fully spelled out, ADMN. And we know it's going to return authenticated. So I'm just building a user as if we had authenticated and read the ID from the database and done all of that good stuff. So I should probably make another note. Final version authenticates and builds per club logon. So there's your guide on how I want the final to look. But we can then say if U is authenticated, which we know will always return true tonight, we're going to read the store. So we are going to need to create a data structure to hold the store information so that our JSP page can build the drop-down. So there is a little coding here. Let's see. Oh, I can probably get this from our logon servlet from ClubDB as well, because the first time we did it, we did have connection, statement, and SQL command, and then result. So I'm going to go all the way down here for these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines, 4 lines actually, Java lines. Okay, so connection, statement, SQL, command. All right, so let's go back down to the logon servlet. Yeah, club logon servlet. The very first time we read the database, we used the old style. Now vastly out of date, but anyway. So let it do all the imports. And oh, this needs to all have been done in a try-catch. So it should. All right. So let's put a try-catch in here. And we will catch a SQL exception, E That requires an import for the SQL exception. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, I misspelled it. That's why it wasn't giving me the import option. Let's try SQL exception with the proper spelling. Then we can import Java SQL SQL exception. And, oh, I guess I'm missing my SQL string. So let's build string SQL equals the empty string and message. String message equals empty string, MSG. Okay, so if we catch an exception, MSG is SQL exception e.getMessage. Excuse me. Okay. Now the SQL command is happily much easier. It's going to be select star from, the table is stores, so select star from stores, order by store name, and then that is the end. We don't need anything. There's no where clause on that because we always produce the full drop-down list of all stores. There are only 4 of them in the system, in the Henry Books setup. But now we've got our, oh, you know what? I just noticed a line I forgot. So bear with me. Up above, after we plug our user data, we need to put the user on the session. So request get session, set attribute. I'm going to call the user as far as the name value pair. The name will be user, and then it's the U object. So that way the user is always there, whether we're going forward or backward from our logon page. We've got the user and whatever information the user supplied. But my real interest tonight, finally, as we're running out of time, not really, but anyway, my interest is building the object for the stores. So this is going to be an array list. You know what? I think I'm going to declare it up above as well. So back up in my regular declarations area, let's have an array list of store objects. So each one of the entries in the array list is a store, and I'm going to call it stores plural, and it's going to be a new array list, and we don't need the diamond operator, but we do need a couple of imports. I mean, we don't need the store repeated in the second diamond is what I meant to say. So let's see, we're going to add an import for business.store. We're going to add an import for Java util array list, and it's happy because my JDK level is high enough that the array list store doesn't have to be repeated in the second diamond set. Okay. So there is an empty list of stores, so that down here in my is authenticated, here we go, loop, we'll say while r next, so as long as there's another entry in the result set of the stores, we will create a single store object st as a new store. and we'll set the data. So st set store ID is an R get int call for store ID. Then st set store name is an r.getString call for store name. Set store address, r.getString for store ADDR. And st set store employee count, r.getInt for store EMP. So that'll read one store at a time. We create the store object and we add it. So stores.add st. So we add it into our array list of stores. After the while loop is done, I'm going to go ahead and check it. If stores.size is greater than 0, so we had a store, at least one store, then I will do a request get session, set attribute, and the attribute is stores plural, and the object is the array list stores. Otherwise, I'm going to just set a message, no stores read from stores table. Oh, I forgot to do my hard-coded BR break down below. Need to do that as well. Yeah. Okay. So the only purpose that I'm interested in the servlet right now is to build that list of stores, putting it in an array list, and then adding that array list as another attribute of the session. Actually, do we really need it on the session? I guess that's debatable, but I'll leave it on the session for now. It possibly would only need to be an attribute of the request object itself, but I do in my notes have it as a session object, so we'll leave it that way. And then I want to move on to the store selection screen. So I will go back up to my club logon servlet, grab the dispatchers, come back down to my logon servlet and paste them in at the bottom. Let's see, that's the IVS authenticated. All right. So we're going to, whoops, I always do that. Okay. So tonight we're assuming all is well. We have stores, array list, as a session object, and we can now look at the code, part of the code, for building the store selection JSP. Is everybody okay on this so far? Okay. So no red, that's good. So back up under Web Pages, Web Henry Books, right click, New JSP, which I called Store Selection when I put the URL in place. Standard syntax. Finish, and there you go. We've got a store selection, which is what we'll call the title. And select store for inventory. So, and while we're here, I guess we'll put in a paragraph block a little user information. So we can put expression language call to user. Remember, the object is you, but the name I used was user, so I'm going to spell that out again. So user ID, forget user ID, and then an expression call to user dot username, get username. Is that matching up? Yeah, get username, get user ID. I'm just double checking that I didn't use capitals anywhere afterwards. Okay, so back on our store selection, JSP, username, and we might as well put a comma and then another expression call user dot admin level, and then we'll just finish it up with the word level. Okay, so that will give us our user information, and in fact we can probably go ahead and test just to see if we can get as far as this page before we try to build our drop-down. All right, so quick, I'm looking at the wrong program as my default, so once again, I have to reset main project here, and let's see what happens. So as the project exists now, we don't have to actually enter anything in the logon page. We should be able to click logon and come to our 1, 2, 3, 4 John Smith admin level. All right. If everything works, yeah. So if it gets as far as store selection with the typo, or you can change it, go through and edit it out. While we're here, I should probably put a little expression language call to the message variable just in case something does blow up, because we're always coming to this page. But here's the good part, at last. Well, I guess not quite yet. So we are going to have a form, a fern. Oh, how about a form? If I can get my fingers on the right keys. We will have an action, but as of right now, I'm not telling you what it is. ID is selection, at least that's what I'm going to call it. Method is post. So there will be a view in edit, view inventory, update inventory page coming next. And I owed you some additional sample pages, didn't I? I didn't put very much. That's there. That's okay. No, I guess we're all right. I did have everything there. Okay. Must have been thinking of different class. They all run together at this point in the semester. Who knows what I'm really teaching you? I might be teaching you database or mobile apps. Okay. So here are the stores and the way we're going to build them. We will have a select object, an HTML. ID is store ID. Name is store ID. Because the purpose of the select is to return the ID, the value of the store that was chosen. So the option tags will have both a value, which will be their store IDs, and then they'll have the description, which will just be the store names. But to do this, we're going to run through the array list of stores, and we know what that means, JSTL. So before we go any farther, let's go down to Libraries, right-click and add a library. JSTL, add the library. Okay, that looks good. Then the tag lib, you can write it out or copy it in. I guess I'll just write it out. So tag lib. Oh, I need my precisely. I've already fouled up my typing. So the prefix was C, and the URI, the resource, is http://javasun.com JSP JSTL/core. All right, that doesn't take too long to type. I guess it's all right. Okay, so we've got our link to the JSTL core capabilities, which is how we're going to build our drop-down set using the array list of stores. We okay on the tag lib? Okay. So inside the select, we will have a C for each operation. The ID is going to be, excuse me, not ID, the variable will be ST for a single store, but the collection, the items collection, will come from expression language call to the stores. Oops, missed a double quote there. There we go. To the stores okay. The stores array list is what I kept trying to say, and I was getting fouled up on my typing there, and it was distracting me. Okay, so stores is what we call the array list when we put it on the session. So the expression language can get the collection, the array list of stores. Each time through the for each, a single store will be in the ST object, and so we will build the drop-down as follows. Option, so this is inside the for each, we're creating an option tag with a value as the store ID. So expression language call to st.storeID. ST. Where did my expression language go? There we go. So that's the value. And the display element is also an expression call. So $ expression call to st.storeName. I'm going to bring that back so you can see it. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm going to put it on 2 lines for the moment. Maybe even 3 lines. And I am missing, no I'm not. Okay, so here we go. We have an option tag that we're building. The tag has a value entry, which is the store ID, and it has a descriptor, which is the store name. And there's my option, end of my option tag there, and there. All right, so that, just adding that much should give us the drop-down for all stores. So I want to run and test that. So rerun, log on, and there we go. Henry Downtown, East Shore, on the hill. And if we look, if we do a page source view, you can see that, ta-da, it's got Henry Brentwood as 3 and Downtown as 1. And if we do a quick select star from stores, those should match up. Downtown is 1, Brentwood is 3, On the Hill is 2, and East Shore is 4. So there you go. And they're ordered by alphabetical sequence, because that's how we specified the query, the select query, to operate. Well, so that looks good. The only problem, of course, is that John Smith should be looking at number 2, which was On the Hill. And obviously it just came up to default of Brentwood. So I do try and explain this a little bit in the spec here, that, oh, and there's an error here. This should say display name Y. So as you build your option tags with values and display names, the tag that says selected is the one that will display in the drop-down as the default, unless none of them show selected, and then I think just the first one. You don't actually have to even be this convoluted on the way I wrote. This is kind of an old style. You can actually just say, have the word selected. So inside the option tag where you have the value, you can also have the word selected, and if that's the case, then that will be the selected item. So our problem is, how do we make that happen given the tools available to us? Right here, we can either put it before or after the value. I'm going to put it before the value. So right here, as we build the option entry, how can we get it to say the word selected or nothing? And the answer is the expression language. The same kind of tool that we use to get it to put a cookie or the current object on the login user IDs and things, you can use the same technique here. So, expression language call, I think, will look like this. $, all of it in the expression, ST store ID. Now we just use the empty call, but there is an is equal to. So you can say, is the store ID equal to the user store ID? In fact, I'm going to bring this down on its own line right here, just to give myself a little bit more space. Okay, so that's the question. There's your if. So there's your condition, and then your if alternative using the expression language. So if store ID from the ST object that we're currently looking at matches store ID from the user object, then first entry is the word selected. Or nothing. I thought it was going to stay red there for a minute. So we've got a particular ST object. We're going to use its store ID in the value, but let's check it first. Does it match the user? If so, then the word selected will be placed inside that option entry, or that's apostrophe is the alternative. Nothing will be put there. And that should do it. So if we run again and log on, ta-da, Henry on the Hill, item 2 is the selected John Smith entry. And for grins, let's just change John Smith's entry to 1. So back in the logon servlet, where I had plugged the value 2, whoops, there it was. Let's plug 1. 1 is the Henry Downtown. Run it again. Click the logon button, and ta-da! We now think that Henry Downtown is the selected item. And if you look at the page source, that's what you see. Selected. Well, I don't want to hear about it. That's because you had typos in your names, and now you don't have it all sorted out everywhere. But we'll take a look. Okay. That's the main thing that I wanted to get you started on. You know how to build the correct login servlet, and I will reconsider or consider what else I might want to show you as part of the final project, but as I continue to threaten, most of this will be up to you. And it's due Saturday, so I don't see a problem with that. No, due in a month, not until it's due a Saturday, yes. So it's due on May 14th, so you got plenty of time. It is quite likely, I'll let you know by announcement, it is quite possible that next week will end up just being a work session. We will, if I don't have a lecture, or if I decide to do the lecture as a recorded lecture. But certainly by the 3rd and the 10th, those two, we'll know the 3rd will be a work session. If you're needing some help, I could potentially give you limited help on the final project. Now the 10th, I'll be giving a final exam to the database class, and they're going to need more time to do that, so we will officially not meet the 10th, but I will have some other days that I'm around during that finals week. Okay, well, go forth and expand the final project.